Live.
Hello everyone, my name's Alex Wharton. I'm a writer, a poet and author, and I'm really pleased to be with you this morning. I'm going to be taking you on a bit of a journey in explaining how I got into writing, what writing means to me, especially poetry, and we're going to do some drawing as well, and we're going to do a little bit of writing. So I hope that you've got some paper, that's all you will need, and a pen. It doesn't have to be a Sharpie like this, a pencil will be just fine. And I'm going to be guiding you through a bit of a draw along and, like I said, maybe just some short writing exercises. So thank you very much for joining me this morning. I'm talking to a camera, but I take it that you are there somewhere in your classrooms or in your assembly and you're all comfy and ready to listen. So let's have a look. I'm going to really just first of all talk through some of my books. As I said, I'm a poet, and I feel like poetry expresses the human condition, you know, it reflects the human condition. You can write about anything you like, and in a book of poetry there are so many different ideas. So I'm going to talk you through some of my books. This is my first one. It's called Daydreams and Jelly Beans. Some of you might have read some of the poems, hopefully you have, and you will. Some of the poems will be familiar. But this one has a lot of poems about the natural world, as do all of my poetry books, and I like to bring some joy into the poems. I like to bring some philosophy, some thinking, and critical thinking as well. Poems give you the opportunity to dream, and they transport you to other places. That's something that I really like about poetry. Something else I really like about books of poetry is that when you turn the page, you can turn to a new page, and there's always a new poem, like this one here, Daydream. If I were a horse, I'd be wild, of course. I'd trot wherever I like. I'd gallop faster than light. So that is my first collection of poetry, and obviously you can imagine I'm really proud of that. It was the first time my work was actually published in a book that had my name on. So that's pretty cool. The next book is called Donuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees, and this is quite fun, illustrated by my auntie, Ree Smith. As I said, my second book, what I feel is really special about this book is that it has lyrics inside, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about rap lyrics and song lyrics as we go along. But I wanted to put songs and I wanted to put rap lyrics in this book, just to show the comparisons and how poetry and song lyrics and rap can sometimes seem very similar. And I think that it's a good thing to look at it like that. So that's my second book, Donuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees. My third book is called Red Sky at Night, A Poet's Delight. This one celebrates the natural world in a big way. There's a poem in here, probably one of my longest poems actually, at the back. It's called Young Oak. And I wrote this about a tree that I know. I live in South Wales, a place called Pontypool. And this is a tree that lives in a park called Pontypool Park. It follows the tree through every season and through about 80 years of its life, Young Oak. So that is that poem, and I really enjoyed writing this one because it's a narrative. It has a story going all the way through about a girl and her mother, and then everything that the tree kind of experiences, like hunters and a shell grotto up on the top of the mountain, and owls kind of floating into the midnight black, all of those really lovely things. So if you do get hold of this book somehow, maybe in your library or somewhere else, have a look at the back and maybe enjoy that lovely lyrical poem that celebrates the natural world, because I'm a big believer in that the more that we learn about the natural world, the more likely we are to protect it. And my fourth book, and my final book so far, is called Red Sky in the Morning, Poet's Warning. And this one was just released a few months ago, actually, this year. And again, it celebrates lots of the natural world, but some of the darker versions of it, like wild boys and Welsh wolves and all of these kind of things. I kept horses for many years, and I still spend a lot of time out there in nature. Like I said, the more we learn about it, the more likely we are to protect it. That's why I like writing poems that celebrate the natural world. So if you find this book, like I said, beware. There are poems out there that might give you a little scare. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you with a poem before we head on looking at some of the other things that I've been getting up to as an author. This one is called Anywhere, and I wrote this just thinking about where I am when I'm writing poetry, that creative space. Where does it take me? Is it here? Is it there? Maybe it's anywhere. You see me here, but I'm over there. I'm somewhere else, anywhere. And you'll never know just where I go. My mind is a kaleidoscope. I travel into a magic place. It's wonderful, my happy space, where limits are not entertained and laughter carries on for days and days and days. It feels sublime. I'm not confined by ordinary time. I'm not confined by anything. This world is mine to drift in, and drift I will like a leaf in wind to everywhere and to everything. You see me here, but I'm over there. I'm somewhere else, anywhere. So I hope you enjoyed the kind of the melodies in that poem. As you can see, I've used rhyme there and I've used a good sense of rhythm. And maybe you can think about that when you're writing your poems as well. So just to introduce you to some of the things I get up to as an author, I travel around a lot. I visit lots of schools, I visit colleges, I visit primary schools, universities, all of these things. And here are some of the statistics that I gathered from last year. I called them poetry moments. 74 schools I visited in person, and that's a lot of fun. I don't know how many schools are actually zoomed into this link now today, but that's really interesting, and I'll find out, and then I can gather those for my data for this year. So 74 schools in person all over the United Kingdom. 406 schools online, and I believe that's 9 different countries, all around the United Kingdom, Kenya, Jamaica, all over the place. And that's always really lovely to know that there are people watching the poems and getting inspired to write poetry and to read all over the world. I visited 9 different libraries, 26 festivals, so there's a lot of talking, as you can imagine. But I don't mind talking, I like talking. That's a good job I got into poetry. I went to Buckingham Palace twice last year because I was, for celebrating language and the power of poetry to improve our lives, maybe even save our lives. So I got invited to Buckingham Palace. And if you've ever been there, you will know that the sandwiches are really nice and the cakes are brilliant too. My favorite is the carrot cake. So just keep a lookout if you are heading to Buckingham Palace. Who knows? Perhaps some of you are. Have a look at those carrot cakes. Daydreams and Jelly Beans Ballet. Now, this was really special because this was the first time that my work had gone onto stage, and we combined Daydreams and Jelly Beans, Donuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees, and Red Sky at Night, A Poet's Delight to create a kind of poetry and dance extravaganza where we traveled all over the country, and I was performing with ballet dancers, I think about 12 ballet dancers from the dance company called Ballet Cymru. Cymru means Wales, so it's the Welsh ballet. I also performed and read some poetry at Westminster last year, and that was to all the new members of Parliament. And what I was doing there was really trying to remind them of the power of libraries, and hopefully, so that they don't cut the money to the libraries, because as I mentioned earlier about books, they give us an opportunity to travel, to think, empathy, compassion, all of these wonderful things that we can connect to through books. So libraries are a safe space, and they are a place that transports us to new worlds and gives us the opportunity to live in the shoes of someone else. So I wanted to remind the MPs of how important it is that they keep the libraries open. In fact, maybe open even more libraries so that people can go and dream away in the wonderful world of books. And there was something really special that happened last year. Sir Lewis Hamilton found one of my poems, and he had it stitched onto the inside of his jacket for a red carpet event. Now, I've told you that, and I think that was going to be one of the poll questions, but there we go. So I just want to really showcase some of the books that I was reading as a child, some of the books that inspired me. First of all, we've got Charlotte's Web. I read this one in school, and I really loved the idea of all the animals and Charlotte. That was really kind of quite a dreamy book for me. Stig of the Dump, just a fantastic book. I really enjoyed reading Stig of the Dump in school. The Jungle Book, obviously it's a classic. It's a film. Everybody knows The Jungle Book. But when I was reading the book at home, it was just wonderful, really, to just, again, dream away into these worlds that the author had created. And Peter Pan, of course, I'm sure you know all of these books. Peter Pan, again, is such a classic. But it's this idea of pure imagination that I think that I was very connected to when I was reading as a youngster. And the other thing is, obviously, books, they allow you to paint your own picture. So when you're listening to a story, you are painting the picture, you are creating the characters in your own way. And that's very special. It's very different to television. It's very different to using your phone because, like I said, you have to paint the picture. So I enjoyed all of those books. Something else that I enjoyed was reading comics, and the Beano especially, Dennis the Menace, was one that I really, really enjoyed. As you can see, lots of these kind of Beano covers here. And obviously Dennis, hence his name, is a menace, and I've brought some of these menacing ideas into some of my poems. One or two of them I'm going to share with you today as well, one being Mr. Slime. We're going to get there soon. But Dennis was always up to no good. He was always up to mischief, and for me, I just really enjoyed that kind of writing. And if you're looking for books, it doesn't always have to be a novel, It can be comic books, it can be graphic novels, it can be poetry books. So it's just something to think about when you're searching for books that are going to inspire you. Who knows what it'll be? But reading kind of widely is very helpful, trying to find the things that you enjoy reading the most. You have to enjoy it to want to go to reading as a method of pleasure, reading for pleasure. Very important for our brains. The book of knowledge. I mean, this book is it seems serious, doesn't it? Well, I had this book in my bedroom. It was absolutely huge, really heavy book. And one thing I liked about this book was the fact that it really just expressed different cultures and religions and maps, all of these things. So even though it didn't seem a very child-friendly book, when I was younger, I really enjoyed reading it because it would just allow me to travel and learn about people from all over the world. And to me, that was really important. Growing up in the South Wales valleys, I didn't see lots of people from different cultures. And I think that this book allowed me to just see different versions of the world. And again, like I said, that's always very important. The new book of knowledge. And as I said, maps. I still enjoy reading maps. It doesn't seem the kind of thing that you can read, but at the end of the day, there are words there. There are words within the maps, and the words have meanings. Like if you can see on this map here of Wales, you see all of the words that begin with llan. Llan. You have to kind of do this funny thing there with your mouth. Llan. Llan means church. So all of those little villages and towns, you know that there's a church there. So when you're reading these words, what I find really interesting about that is you know something about the place before you even go there. And that is, you can do that, or you can also look at the mountain ranges, and you can just look at the river courses, learn about the rivers, the names of the rivers, why they've got those names. So it's not like reading a novel. No, it's not like reading a comic even, but it is a type of reading, and it's something that brings me a lot of comfort. I like to try and figure out where I am within a map. And I just like to kind of just place all of these areas around me. So maybe you can look at some maps as well yourself and learn about the place because of the name of the town itself. It might tell you something about the place. See how you get along with that. And it's National Poetry Day tomorrow, and the theme is play. As a poet, I keep it playful. Poetry is really a composition. It's much like a musician will bring together sounds and different instruments, flutes and pianos and all of these wonderful instruments. With poetry, we are playing around with words. We are composing. We are bringing words together for their meaning. We are bringing them together for the way that they look, how they look on a page as a whole. But I would always encourage people to be playful with it. Scribble a word out, bring a new word in, and just have a bit of fun with it. You never really know where the language is going to take you, and that's really what's joyous about it. So maybe you can write a poem all about play, whatever play means to you. That would be cool. So Daydreams and Jelly Beans, my first book of poetry. I think that it would be really nice now for me to read a couple of poems from this book, just to invite you into that book, because this book really reflects who I am as a person, all the playful things, all of the dreamy ideas. The poem I'm going to read to you is called Jelly Bean, and it goes like this. There's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in haze. And it's been there for days, just gathering dust. And people walk by with a look of disgust. So I pick the bean up and I walk to the bin, but I change my mind before I throw it in. You see, the bin was full and I do hate to waste. So I chewed the bean up. And what a wonderful taste. So I hope you enjoyed that poem. Something else I do when I visit schools in assemblies, I tend to read this as a call and response poem. So you've heard the poem once now, and maybe you can join in with me and read the poem. So I take it you're all there and you're all quiet enough to be listening carefully. Maybe we should warm up our vocal cords before we actually get into reading the poem ourselves. So repeat after me. Can you roll your R's like this? I'm going to give you a little bit of time to do that. And then maybe you can do it like this. And then perhaps we can do it to scale like this. Copy after me. And one more time. And we're going to do one more thing. We're going to make the sound zzz. Okay, so after me. Zzz. 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 So I hope you've all been doing that, because that is going to warm up your vocal cords. Your vocals are kind of vibrating now, and that vibration is warming them up. So when you read this poem with me, you're going to be a lot better. Your voice is going to be strong and bold, and it's very helpful, okay? The other thing you can do quickly is just give yourself a little bit of a massage on your neck if you want, because your vocal cords are vibrating, but if your muscles are actually cold, then there's no space for them, okay? So sometimes I just do this, open my mouth out wide. You can do that if you like. Okay, so now we're going to be ready to read this poem. So repeat after me. Jelly bean. Jelly bean. Jelly bean. Yo, jelly bean. Okay, I think you're ready now. We're going to get into the poem, and it goes like this. There's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in hairs. And it's been there for days, just gathering dust. And people walk by with a look of disgust. So I pick the bean up and I walk to the bin. But I change my mind before I throw it in. You see, the bin was full and I do hate to waste. So I chewed the bean up. And what a wonderful taste. Well done, everyone. I hope that you joined in and you had a bit of fun with that. Nice big voices. It's really nice to get involved, to collaborate with poetry. I think that's what poetry is all about. You know, it's something that we can do together. We can kind of, you know, you can use poetry in a sense of competition. I'm not really bothered about using it in a sense of competition. I just like to celebrate who we are, celebrate our voice, celebrate our identity and our personalities through poetry. But yeah, if there's ever a chance to kind of get along that with collaborating with poetry, call and response is a good way to do it. So I hope that you enjoyed joining in. I'm going to read one more poem from Daydreams and Jelly Beans, and it's called, let's see, I think I'm going to read a poem called Waterfall. This one. You are all water, and all water is you, but this time you search for a pool to fall into. A journey into water is a journey home, wandering, folding, bursting and stretching like wet flames. Turn inside and over, roll into new water, and gather every sound, carry them off the edge of ground. Every stone smoothed and riverbed tickled, each dip and twist of bird and fish, you fall again, together again. Whisper, burble, thunder, hiss. So that was me actually trying to give a bit of a story to a waterfall. There's something else that you can do. You can go out there, like I mentioned earlier about young oak. Maybe you can give a tree a story and write from the perspective of the oak tree. Or you can look at a waterfall and think, okay, you are all water and all water is you. But this time you search for a pool to fall into. You can make your own poem up, or maybe you can even write a song. Okay, so we're going to move along, and I'm going to see, this is now the first interactive poll question. And I did a terrible thing, and I mentioned this earlier. So those of you who remembered, you're going to do just fine with this. But maybe some of you wasn't listening very carefully. So I'd like to ask you, which celebrity wore a poem of mine at a red carpet event? Is it 1, Sir Lewis Hamilton, 2, Ed Sheeran, or 3, Adele? And I'm going to give you a little moment to get your questions in. I take it most of you know this one now because I slipped up. So we're going to wait for those questions to come in. I think it'd be pretty cool if any of these people wore one of my poems. Okay, so the answers are in, and you guessed it, it was Sir Lewis Hamilton. And he decided to wear a poem of mine that I wrote, celebrating the life of an 18th century black gardener who lived in Wales. And he was kind of stolen from Africa, and he was brought to North Wales to work. I was doing a project for the Welsh government celebrating the lives of black heritage people who've contributed to Welsh society. And I wrote this poem about John O'Stuntlin. And a few years later then, Sir Lewis Hamilton and Burberry found the poem, and they asked me if they could stitch it on the inside of Sir Lewis Hamilton's jacket. The final lines of the poem: I hope the sun pours light upon our skin and we melt into each other, into everything. And maybe the trees will speak, as they sometimes do, whispers from the shade, run, run away. So as you can imagine, I was very proud to know that Sir Lewis Hamilton wore this poem, and it inspired his look for the Met Gala. But what I really found wonderful about this was the power of poems to find people, anybody, and to inspire people. That's the main thing. When I get down to writing, I know that there's a reason. So when I'm spending time working on the poem, I don't just think, okay, that'll do. It's never like that with writing. It's a very special thing. And I'm communicating an idea to an audience, to a reader. And so I spend the right amount of time thinking Something I like to say is that I think twice and write once. And I worked in the building industry, and carpenters would always say, measure twice and cut once. So that's something I like to say with poetry. Think twice, write once. And that's what I did with this poem. I thought for a long time, and I thought, how does it feel like to be John Stumpton, this gardener? And then I wrote that poem. And here is a little clip of Sir Lewis Hamilton mentioning the poem.
Came over from Africa to Wales and became the first black gardener in Wales.
Wow.
And so through adversity and through, really triumphed. And so that's really where the inspiration has come from. And then inside we found this, I've also got like a...
Here, I can hold your mic for you.
Yeah, right here is a poem from a guy called Alex Wharton, who wrote a poem. A black poet in England as well.
Actually, I'm going to move on. Donuts, Thieves, and Chimpanzees. So the poem that I read at the start of this was Anyway, and that was actually from this book. But I'm going to read a poem now called The Dragon in Question, and I actually have an illustration here for you. This will be a good time for you to get your paper, get your pencil, and maybe see if you can draw along to this whilst I'm reading the poem. What I will do is that I'll read this poem twice to give you enough time to do the drawing. And do you know what? I'm going to have a little go at drawing this myself. So, it's called The Dragon in Question, and it's all about a dragon that is characteristically more like a mouse. The dragon in question is more like a mouse. He isn't a mouse, but he lives in a house. Well, not in the house, but under the house, the dragon that's more like a mouse. And he's tiny, you see, not as small as a flea, but smaller than what you'd imagine he'd be. He's more like a mouse living under the house. He burps tiny flames from his miniature mouth, and would you believe he loves cheddar cheese? It's yummy, he says, very yummy, before scurrying away in a mouse-like way with plenty of cheese in his tummy. And I'll never know why he never does fly. But I promise you this, I tell you no lie. The dragon in question is more like a mouse living under the house. So I hope you're doing well with your drawings. I'm trying to draw this whilst also trying to perform the poem and remember the lines. So I just need to put some little ears on the mouse. As I said, I'll read it one more time, just to give you enough time. And I'm going to just put a little wing on there. So it goes like this, one more time. The dragon in question is more like a mouse. Well, he isn't a mouse, but he lives in a house. Well, not in the house, but under the house, the dragon that's more like a mouse. And he's tiny, you see, not as small as a flea, but smaller than what you'd imagine he'd be. He's more like a mouse living under the house. He burps tiny flames from his miniature mouth. And would you believe, he loves cheddar cheese, it's yummy, he says, very yummy, before scurrying away in a mouse-like way with plenty of cheese in his tummy. And I'll never know why he never does fly. But I promise you this, I tell you no lie. The dragon in question is more like a mouse living under the house. Okay. The dragon in question. So that's my little drawing. By the way, I'm not an illustrator, okay? I get other people, professionals, to illustrate my books. But that's my little version of a dragon in question. It's not too bad, actually, considering, I'm copying this, aren't I? You don't have to copy the illustration. The illustration is just there for you for inspiration, but obviously it's there, and we don't have a lot of time. This is a speed drawing exercise, so you're probably better off just trying to copy it. I hope you've done well with that, and I'm going to read, I'll read one more poem from Donuts, Thieves, and Chimpanzees. Okay. I mean, you can try and draw along to this one if you like, but it'll probably be quite tough. I'm not going to try drawing this one. This one is called Horse on the Loo. And this is a true story. I can't believe my eyes. I don't know what to do. There's a horse in my bathroom and he's using the loo. He said to give him space. It'll all be over soon. But he's been in there for hours, the entire afternoon. And now I hear him singing and tip-tapping his hooves. Then suddenly a crash and my ceiling crumbles through. Now the horse is in my kitchen and he's still sat on the loo. He looks at me and says, "It'll all be over soon." Horse on the loo. I hope that never happens to you. It happened to me. This is a true story. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that because that one brings back bad memories, I can almost smell it coming from this illustration. Let's have a look what else I've got for you. So when I was younger, I would read the backs of my CD cases. I would read the lyrics within my CDs. And this is just something that I found very helpful when I started writing poetry as an adult. So you're thinking about the lyrics. I was thinking about the rhythm, the rhyme. This helps with critical thinking, the shape of words, as I mentioned earlier, the meaning of the words, the playfulness of the words, and the sound of the words. And I think, as I said, that really helped me when I started writing poetry. I didn't recognize that poetry and rap were one and the same thing. But when I started writing poetry, all of this critical thinking and the idea of rhyme and rhythm, it just started kind of shaping my words and my own creativity. So this is an album cover of De La Soul. It's called 3 Feet High and Rising. I like to read the lyrics of De La Soul and many other lyricists as well. It's just something that if you haven't considered reading lyrics, perhaps you could find some CDs or you could find some lyrics online. Maybe go and look at your favorite artist, whoever that is, musician, rapper, and just look at the lyrics and think, maybe why did they write them like that? Maybe you can see that they were using figurative language, metaphors, similes, onomatopoeia, all of these things that make the writing good and rich for an audience. Rap. One way to think about rap is rhythm and poetry. And when I was a teenager, as I said, I read a lot of this. But when you think of rhythm and poetry, so a poem like, for example, Jelly Bean. There's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in hairs. Well, when I give it a beat, it changes into a rap anyway, because I'm trying to fit the words around the beat. And a 2 and a 3 and a... there's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in hairs, and it's been there for days just gathering dust. You see what I mean? Or you could sing it. There's a jelly bean stranded at the top of the stairs, and its blue beanie body is covered in hairs. Yes. So you can really see that poetry can just become a song or it can become a rap just by giving it a sense of rhythm. That gives it structure, and then you can kind of just change the way that you say the words. That's all it is, honestly. That's my little secret to you. So talking about rap, I'm going to sing along to a rap song. I can't really hear this very much on my side. You're going to hear it just great, but I hope that I sing along in time, okay? This I wrote, it's called Monday Morning, and it's all about really just turning up at school on a Monday morning. You probably know exactly what I mean. Feeling tired, like, I can't believe this. Yo, it's Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. So that's really what this is all about. And the students at Cardiff University, Year 2 students, animation students, they are the ones who did this animation. I think they did a brilliant job, so I hope that you like it too. It goes like this. Yo, it's Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. Look out the window when it's raining, pouring. The teachers ask me, do I find this boring? I say it's Monday morning, just a Monday morning, and I'm still half asleep. Half of my body still be stuck in my dream. They tried to call me, but I don't want to leave. Look, that's why I'm dragging my feet. I said I'm still half asleep, and I can't wait till the bell rings. I need some jelly beans, I need a fizzy drink, I need some fresh air to chew my brain in, because my brain is out. Yo, it's a Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. Look out the window when it's raining, pouring. The teachers ask me, do I find this boring? I say it's Monday morning, just a Monday morning, and now we're back in the class. Break time is such a thing of the past. My best friend keeps on making me laugh, but look, I'm trying to focus on math. I'm trying to focus on maths, and then the sugar kicks in. The jelly beans and the fizz of the drink. I'm still tired, but I can't even blink. I said I can't even blink. Yo, it's a Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. Look out the window when it's raining, pouring. The teachers ask me, do I find this boring? I say it's Monday morning, just a Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. Look out the window when it's raining, pouring. The teachers ask me, do I find this boring? I say it's Monday morning, just a Monday morning. So I think that you probably know just how I felt when I wrote that. And maybe you could write, a poem or a song that really celebrates like Friday afternoon or something, or Sunday morning, what it feels like to have a nice, sleepy, chilled out Sunday morning. But this one is Monday morning, and as I said, you're walking into school, and it's the same for adults as well. Sometimes when we're going into work, we're like, it's Monday morning, and I can't stop yawning. So we know how it feels. I still know how it feels. So what I did here, I thought I would write just a few things down, a few of my favorite things, because these are things that really, they inspire my writing. They help me with my writing. Writing really, for me, is living. The living becomes the writing. So I would encourage you maybe to just write down maybe just 3 or 4 things that are your favorite things. Have a little think now. Maybe you can look at some of mine. Learning for me is such a big thing. As a poet, as a writer, I need to learn all the time. I like to learn new things so that I can tell them again through my stories, through my ideas. Reading, of course, traveling, gardening, learning instruments, piano, harmonica, and the guitar. Nature, thinking, writing, the sea, performing, walking my dog. Spending time with my family. So I hope that you are writing just a couple of things down that you can think of your favorite things. And maybe those things help you with your writing. Or maybe reading itself inspires your life in some way. Maybe you play netball. Maybe you play football. All of these things, they matter. And if you haven't found things that you enjoy, then I hope that you can find some things that you enjoy, because obviously it makes our life so much richer. And they don't have to be expensive. You know, as you say, when you think about reading, you can go to a library and you can travel away in any kind of book. You can learn new languages, all of these amazing things. So I hope that you've had enough time to just jot down a couple of those things. I'm going to talk a little bit about my actual writing journey, okay? So I started writing in journals just like this, right? Like notepads. And then the journals, writing about my life, writing about my children, and just the things that I was doing. That led then to actually writing poetry. And as you can see here, I talked earlier about crossing words out and bringing new words in. You can see behind where it says my writing journey, some of the words that I'm crossing out and bringing new words in. And what I've done there, I've kind of tiered the work at the page. I don't always do that. Sometimes I write in completely different angles. I turn my book around and write it kind of upside down. One thing I do like to have in a notebook is no lines. I feel that the lines really just, I don't like that kind of structure. I like to just play around. As we mentioned, the theme for National Poetry Day tomorrow is play. And you should play around on the page. You should do some doodles. You should scribble things out. Poetry is very much like a puzzle. That's how I see it as well. Like a composition, just like a musician. But it's also like a puzzle. And you're trying to scratch away and tickle away at finding exactly what it is that you're trying to say. The truth of things, even if it's through your imagination. So I got into writing poetry through keeping journals, and I haven't looked back since. I've been writing poetry for about 12 years, I'd say, and even though I used to write rap lyrics and things when I was younger, I left all that alone. I was playing rugby, boxing, and working as a builder, and I didn't write for many years, but the journaling helped me start with my own creativity. So that's another thing that you can do if you feel like, you don't write very much, or, maybe you think, oh, I can't write a song. Just write about the fact that you think why you can't write a song. And by the time you know it, you're already writing anyway. So that's what I did. I started writing the journals. That led to poetry. And then I thought, so where can I go to read some of these poems? And I found open mic events in Cardiff, the capital city of Wales. I live in South Wales, as I said, and Cardiff isn't that far. And I thought, maybe if I go to Cardiff, I can find some open mics where other people are reading poems. And it turned out people would read poetry, they would beatbox, they would rap, they would be comedians, all of these things. It's like a real wonderful variety when you go to an open mic event. So I'd read my poems there, and then I started hosting open mics as well. So it was all part of me learning what it means to be behind the microphone, what it means to be, to gain confidence in telling my own story. That was kind of how things went for me. And then all of that, now, obviously, I visit all the schools we mentioned earlier, 74 schools, 409 schools online, festivals like the one that you can see there, Hay Festival, lots of schools, big assemblies, the ballet you can see there on the screen, Ballet Cymru, full theatres, full of people. And they're all there for the work that, for me, obviously, it's changed in terms of it's developed. I hope that my writing's got better. I read a lot, so that helps shape my writing. But it's amazing when I look at this, when I was putting this PowerPoint together, to see where I've came from. And it's really lovely to actually just see how things have developed for me. And being on stage and performing is quite a unique thing to do, to be able to speak to people and tell them your story. It's quite an important thing to be able to do, but it takes confidence, and you gain that confidence through doing it more often. Practice makes perfect, as they say. And it's never really perfect. That's not something that you're looking to do as a writer or a performer anyway. You hope to just communicate something that's authentic, something that feels like you. So even when I'm talking about Horse on the Loo or Jelly Bean, they all come from me, so I can identify with those poems. They reflect me in some way. And also, I became the Children's Laureate of Wales, which has just finished. It was a 2-year placement where I became a national ambassador for the power of reading and writing within Wales. So that was very special. I worked all over the country. I worked in prisons with fathers so that they can learn to write poems and connect with their families. I worked with blind and visually impaired students, and we created a first of its kind audiobook by visually impaired students. I traveled on foot from my hometown, like 40, 50 miles, camping every night and visiting different schools every day. So many really interesting, engaging, dynamic and fun projects that I did with the Children's Laureate of Wales, which is run by the National Company for the Development of Literature in Wales. It's called Literature Wales. So it was a fantastic experience. And the new laureate is now Nicola Davis, and she's a wonderful writer as well. So I wish her all the best of luck in her new role. So we're going on to our second interactive poll question, and this is a strange one. This is a bit strange, But I've got a poem about a slug coming up, so maybe that's why I thought I'd put this one in. So I'm going to ask you, how many teeth do you think that slugs have? Up to how many teeth? Do you think it's 1, 207, 2, 27,000, or 3, 2? Do they have up to 207 teeth, 27,000 teeth, or 2 teeth? So I'm going to wait for the answers to come in. How many teeth do slugs have? So I'm just going to wait for you to kind of put your answers in, and we'll see. I'm really not sure if you're going to get this one. I was quite surprised, actually. I didn't know what to think when I researched this, but I was writing a picture book about a slug, a really menacing slug, and I thought I wanted to know a little bit more about what slugs get up to, maybe the anatomy and physiology of slugs, and this is when I learned this fact. Okay, what have we got? The answers are in. 27,000. Do you actually think that? Well, you're right. It's a bit shocking, isn't it? I think it's a thing of nightmares, to be honest with you. So they have like this ribbon, and they have like up to 27,000 teeth on this ribbon that just comes out, all of these teeth. And they kind of like, well, when they lick things, then they just hook it all back with these spiky teeth. I was like, 27, imagine a slug was the size of us, or a bit bigger than us. I think that would be a bit of a, they're like an alien really, aren't they, in that sense? Anyway, you got it right. Well done. Excellent. So the book that represents me, I've gone with Red Sky at Night, A Poet's Delight, probably because the poem that I mentioned earlier, Young Oak, is one of my, I think that I'm probably most proud of that poem because it's, well, one, because it's the longest poem that I've ever written, and it doesn't mean it's better because it's long, but I spent a lot of time really trying to imagine what it was like seeing the world from the perspective of a young oak tree. And I just had a lot of fun doing it. So, like I said, maybe if you get hold of this book, go and have a look at that poem. But I'm going to read a poem from this book, and this poem is called Mr. Slime. It's the first poem in the book. And it's a letter poem, and it goes like this. At night, I'm the slimy king of the kitchen. You think you know it all? You know nothing. Don't come downstairs at midnight if you value your life. Stay well clear, out of sight. You see, I'm unfriendly. Other slugs shake in their boots when they see me, so back off, pal. I'm a mischief, a real problem, a tough cookie, no nonsense. I eat salt for breakfast. Last night I slept in the dog's bed. Well, they can keep it. I'd rather sleep on glass. You see, I'm moody. Spiders won't even look at me. And I could never be squished, so don't even try, 'cause I'll stare you down with my slug eyes. And I could never be poisoned. No, I could never be poisoned because I'm toxic. I'm really toxic, man. And I lick the food from fallen spoons, then I howl at the moon as all slugs do. So don't cross the line. From the cooker to the wall and the fridge to the door, it's all mine. It's all mine. Yours sluggishly, Mr. Slime. So, Mr. Slime is a real menace, and as you can see, I have to really get into the character of these poems when I perform them. And that's very necessary because I'm writing from the perspective of Mr. Slime himself. And as you can see, he thinks he's the king of the kitchen, so he's got a bit of a crown there. Maybe you've been drawn along to that. I should have said, maybe you can have a little draw along to that. You would be welcome. But yeah, this is the first poem in this book, and I think that it's a nice way to just delve straight into this wacky world of poetry that I like to express. So what we're going to do a bit of an activity. This is something that you can build more after this session. I think that you can really get into the writing here. But for now, we're just going to do a quick version of that, okay? So I'd like you to imagine that you are a mischievous character, just like Mr. Slime. And we're going to plan a poem in the style of a letter, which reveals your imagined character's personality. So your personality, now, when you are this creature, whoever you are, is going to come out through the poem, just like Mr. Slime's did, okay? So choose someone to address your letter poem to, first of all. That's actually very important. So the poem could be anyone. Who are you going to write it to? So get your pen, get your paper, and just write. Maybe you could just address it to yourself. Like if I was going to do that, I would say, Dear Alex. And obviously, maybe I'm thinking, I'm Mr. Slime, okay? So you've probably done that by now. Choose someone to address it to. It could be anyone. Maybe it's your neighbor. Maybe it's Dear Homeowner or Dear Whoever you are. Number 2, think of a name for your character. I mean, this is a really fun part about writing poetry. Titles of poems. This could become the title. Maybe you can use alliteration as well, like this one here. Hector the Horrible Hedgehog. That's the name of one of my other menacing characters that is in the book Daydreams and Jelly Beans. Hector the Horrible Hedgehog there, if you've got this book. Page 34. Page 34. So, alliteration, using consecutive words that have the same sound at the start. Hector the Horrible Hedgehog. Maybe you could have Sid the Sid Squirrel or something like that. Anything you like. Maybe I'm just going to give you a little moment to find a name for your character. And then we are going to move on. So what mischievous things might your character get up to? Write some of those ideas down and you can be as mischievous as you like, as I did with Mr. Slime. At night, I'm the slimy king of the kitchen. You think you know it all? Ha ha, you know nothing. So you can be bossy. Really think about that character now, okay? So I'm going to give you a little moment to write a few things down. You can just do them as bullet points right now if you like. What would they get up to? What would Sid, the squirrel, get up to if he kind of tiptoed his way through your window and kind of looking around? Maybe he started eating Rice Krispies or making himself a cup of tea. I don't know what he gets up to. That's for you to decide. What kind of things might they get up to? This is the fun part in a letter poem like this. I have a lot of fun. I really like writing poems from the perspective of somebody else, somebody completely, because this just gives you the chance to be as imaginative as you like, especially when you're writing about these characters. Maybe Peter the Pigeon's outside and he's looking in thinking, what am I going to do? That's my room. You can be as fun and creative as you like. And where does your character live? That's quite important. As you know, Mr. Slime lives in the kitchen. I'm the slimy king of the kitchen. And at the end he says, from the cooker to the wall and the fridge to the door, it's all mine. Yours sluggishly, Mr. Slime. So he's really confident in telling you, the kitchen is my area, man. This is my territory, not yours. Even though, it's my house. So where is your character? It could be a spider, a secret spider. Maybe it lives under the bed. Maybe somewhere else. Anywhere, to be honest. Anywhere you like. Maybe just write down a couple of ideas where your character lives and rules over, perhaps. Where does your character live? I suppose it depends on the size of the character, doesn't it? And then maybe you could draw your character. So maybe you could just start doing a little quick a speed drawing of your character. If it's a slug, I would just kind of draw something. This is how I tend to draw Mr. Slime when I'm drawing Mr. Slime. Just get the eyes, get the eyebrows to showcase that he's actually a real menace. And I do kind of a kitchen behind him. Maybe a washing machine. I've done it really close to the cherry, the moon, and the mouse there. But yeah, little slug, a little bit of a speed drawing. And you should be good. Okay, so lots of fun there for you. How would your character sign off their letter? That's something else to think about. I say on that poem, yours sluggishly, Mr. Slime. It's okay, so maybe they would give one last warning as to why they're not to be messed with, like I did. From the cooker to the wall and the fridge to the door, it's all mine. So you could say, yours horridly, Hector the horrible hedgehog. It's nice to just throw that alliteration in there, you know. As I said earlier, this really just gives a richness to the... You think, when you hear these things, you think, oh, I like that. Why did I like that? Maybe the poet or the author has used alliteration. Maybe they've used a simile to say one thing is like something else, comparing. Or maybe they've used a metaphor, imaginative language. So don't forget, it's a letter. Keep it formal. Dear Alex, and sign it off as well. And it feels a bit proper, doesn't it? You could even put the address at the top if you like. Make up an address. Maybe Slime Avenue. Okay, now you have all of the ingredients to write your own poem. So I wish you the best of luck with that poem, okay? Have a lot of fun. We're going into the third interactive poll question now. And this one, again, is a tricky one. You're not going to know this, but you can have a guess. How many brothers do I have? Do I have 3 brothers, 6 brothers, or 9 brothers? There we go. Do I have 3 brothers, 6 brothers, or 9 brothers? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? I'm going to just wait for you to get your answers in. We're just waiting for them to come in. Three brothers, 6 brothers, 9 brothers. And the polls are in. Okay. So, do you know what? You've gone for number 2, 6 brothers. You are right. You are right. Well done to you. Do you know, I feel like you know too much about me, you know. This is getting a little bit strange. But I do have 6 brothers and I have a sister as well. So, yeah, we've almost got a football team, you know. And some of you, I'm sure, will have siblings and cousins and all of these lovely things, friends. The lovely thing is about being in school that you find those friends. You know, you build your own kind of family, don't you, as well? But I thought I'd put this one out there just to see if any of you would get it. And you did. You did really well. Well done. So I'm going to finish on a poem which is actually from this book, again, Red Sky at Night and Poet's Delight, the book that represents me. And this poem, it really does represent me. It's called This Is Me. And it goes like this. My name, my face, my skin, my hair. I love to laugh. I love to share. My voice, my language, my town, my hobbies. I love my friends. I love my family. My clothes, my music, my memories and emotion. I love the hills. I love the ocean. My culture, my heritage, my home, my dreams. I love my life. I love being me. So I hope that that kind of poem has inspired you really to write your own poem that celebrates exactly who you are. When I visit schools all over the country, a lot of the time they can write about jelly beans or fun things, but they can't write about themselves because they're almost too afraid to kind of like celebrate who they are. But this is my invitation to you to celebrate exactly who you are and the things that make you unique. That's a very special thing. So my name, my face, my skin, my hair. I love to laugh. I love to share. You can write all of those things that make you who you are. And don't forget, if you want to turn it into a rap or a song, give it a bit of a beat, okay? And the 4, my name, my face, my skin, my hair. I love to laugh and I love to share. All you need is that little bit of rhythm and that will keep it going, okay? So I hope that you've enjoyed the session so far. It's been really wonderful to talk to you. I am now going to go on to some questions that you've already sent in. So well done for sending in the questions. Thank you so much. I actually have them here. And they're in this bowl. So I'm going to pick out one at a time and I'm going to answer these questions, okay? So let's see what the first one is. So this is from Tongwynlais Primary School, a fellow Welsh school. Okay, are you a comic writer as well? Am I a comic writer as well? Well, not really. I haven't written any comics just yet. But what I really love to do, as I say, when you think about a collection of poems, there's probably, I think, 40 poems in this book and different idea on almost every page. Man in Town, My Cloud, Bubble Man, Letter from a Football, Guilty, Hands in the Air, Turn Around Slowly, Open Your Mouth, You Look Guilty to Me. This poem is the second poem to Jelly Bean. This is all about somebody getting caught for eating that dirty, horrible, hairy, stinky jelly bean. So poetry, it might not be a comic, but it's similar to a comic, isn't it, I suppose, because there's lots going on in this. Lots of windows. Each page is almost a new window. Waterfall there that I read earlier for you. Mr. Madrong. So no, but what I like, again, in a book of poetry, every poem is illustrated. And comics, obviously, they're full of illustration, aren't they? So you have the pictures painted for you, and you have the words and the dialogue. But maybe I will write a poet. Maybe I will write a comic. I think that could be a bit of fun. That was a great question. So we've got here, what are the poems that you remember from primary school? From Edgar Suter Primary School. Hello, everybody at Edgar Suter Primary School. What are the poems that I remember one particular from Spike Milligan. It's called On the Ning Nang Nong. On the Ning Nang Nong, where the cows go bong and the monkeys all say boo. There's a nong nang ning where the trees go ping and the teapots jibber jabber jew. So that's a really fun one. I like. You can probably tell that maybe those kind of poems has inspired me, because when you think about the poem that I read earlier, The Dragon in Question, the dragon in question is more like a mouse. He isn't a mouse, but he lives in a house. Well, not in the house, but under the house. The dragon that's more like a mouse. I really like poems that have a good sense of rhythm. And again, that makes them playful to me, and I remember them. And for me, I like to have all those poems in my brain. They say that if you remember poems in your brain, if you remember poems, memorize them when you're younger, they will stay with you for the rest of your life. So maybe that could be a challenge that I can set for you. Find a poetry book and find a poem that you like and try and memorize one of the poems there. It'll stay with you forever. That's pretty cool. Or maybe even better, write your own poem and then memorize it. So let's have a look what we've got. This is from the Divergent School in Harborough. Where did you write books? Where did I write the books? Okay, so with poetry, like I said earlier, they just reflect the world that, that I'm in, and every little thing. There are ideas everywhere. So when I used to keep horses, or when I'd be walking through fields or next to a waterfall, I'd get the idea that, and I put them in one of those notebooks that I showed a picture of earlier. So I like to carry a notebook around with me, and then I can scribble away. It's a very messy process at first, I'm just scribbling ideas, bringing new words in, and all of that kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, the poetry puzzle. So that's where I write my books, everywhere and anywhere. When they're kind of done, and I'm working on them in the book, when I feel like they're good enough to move to the laptop, that's what I do. And then it becomes a bit more of a formal thing, and I have to send it to my publisher. Then we send them to the illustrator, and all the drawings start coming in. But it's a bit like I can kind of write anywhere. And I don't always need a laptop. For the most part, I just like to use a notebook that's usually on the inside of my jacket. So that was another brilliant question. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, this is another one from Tongwynlais Primary School. What gave you inspiration to write your new book? Well, this one was just inspired by outdoors. But as I said earlier, there are some darker poems like Wild Boys and Welsh Wolf. I really wanted some of these poems to be, slightly darker than some of the other poems in there. Fire will take all that it must. Strip an object down to dust. Give it fuel and give it heat. Give it oxygen and see. Fire will snatch away the living. Fire is hungry, unforgiving. Dreadlock Dragon. There are so many. Welsh Wolf, as I mentioned earlier. This one is all about the last wolf that was wandering the Welsh hills. There is a wild wolf wandering the Welsh hills. The last wolf, grinning and growling at the villages below. Those twinkling lights, shining like a wolf's teeth in moonlight. So maybe get the book and you can read the rest of that poem. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this bowl and find a new school. Loxwood Primary School, wherever you are. Hello, everyone at Loxwood. What time of day is your favorite time to write? That's a great question. Let me have a little think. Do I have a day that is better for writing? A time of day. What I like to do, I wake up in the morning, I take my dog out for a walk, okay? So when I'm out in the mountains, I feel like it creates enough space in my brain to encourage me to have some ideas, to inspire me. So I like to get out in the morning, first and foremost. I can't hang around in the house. I must get out and walk and use some of my energy up. I have a lot of energy and I need to kind of go and use that. So then I need to kind of tire myself out a bit before I write. So sometimes I go to the gym, or I use a punch bag, or I do things physically before I think about writing. But what's happening when I'm doing those physical things is I am actually getting the ideas. And then when I kind of feel a bit more restful, I start writing. So I probably write best around 11 o'clock, maybe midday. And then also furthermore, then I'll do more things in the day. I'll go out and I'll do all these other things. Maybe I'll visit a school. And then in the evening, then later on, I like to get to a bit of writing as well. I feel creative quite late at night. So it's kind of late morning and in the evening. I had to have a little think about that. What else do we have? Okay, that's another one from Tongwynlais. So I'll try and find another school. Let's try and find a fresh school. We need another fresh school. Let's have a look. What have we got at the bottom here? Okay, who taught you about poems? This is from the school in Harbour again, the Divergent School. Who taught me about poems? I would have learned about poems in school. A lot of the poems that I read in school, though, I didn't really like, if I have to be honest with you. I didn't really think that I loved poetry when I was younger. Like I said, I used to read the lyrics in the backs of my CD cases, and that was something that I really connected with. I liked the playfulness of the language. And then when I was an adult, I started writing poetry by myself after writing journals. So then, though, I found so many amazing poets like Benjamin Zephaniah, Lem Sissay, Jackie Kay, Alice Oswald. The list just goes on. Maya Angelou, and all of these people have really inspired me to continue writing. But the more you read, it's very helpful to read as much as you can, because then you find out what's missing, and what's missing is you, or me in this case. That's why it's so special to have your own voice as a writer or a creative. So that's what I did. I kind of found out where I would fit in the world of literature. That's what happens when you read a lot. So what do we have here then? Let's have another one. Is it fun being an author? It is really fun. I get to meet loads of different people. I get to travel. I get to express myself. I get to be creative. It's very fun being an author. That's a fantastic question. There's no day is the same. And I meet so many different people, and they all inspire me. That's quite important. I should say that, actually. It's not just the books that inspire me. It is the people that I meet, okay? Okay, so what do you feel like when you finish a book? Oh, let's have a little think of that. How does it feel when you finish a book? It's strange, actually. You would think you just feel really happy, but you feel there's mixed emotions going on. You feel happy that you've potentially achieved something, you've accomplished what you set out to do, but you also feel like you're letting go of something that is precious to you, like it's yours, and you have to give it to a publisher. That's quite strange as a creative, because it's hard to let go of these things, because a month later, you might think, oh, actually, I need to edit that poem, or, I've got another idea. Maybe I want another verse in that poem, or actually, I want to scrap it. I want to do it all again from the start. So that's quite a tricky thing, learning to let go or learning to end the project. And I've got better at that as I've been in this business, over the last 10, 12 years. I've got better at kind of signing a poem off and thinking, that's it. That's the thing that I'm going to communicate to people. Poem is like, it's an idea. And it's also like a living thing. I often think that poems should feel like alive on the page. So when I'm reading like Horse on the Loo, I can't believe my eyes. I don't know what to do. There's a horse in my bathroom and he's using the loo. I hope that it comes across like this is really happening. The poem is like an experience. So all of those poems are experiences. They're living things. And as I mentioned earlier, I've said this a few times, so it's very important for you to remember. Think about the word, the meaning of the word when you're writing. Think about the shape of the word, how it looks on the page, and then think about the sound of the word as well, because all of these words have a certain sound. Obviously, you can play around with that. You can be very creative and kind of manipulate the sounds of the words. But overall, they have an energy, don't they? So when you read it, it's an idea, like a song is an idea. So yeah, all of that to say that when you finish a book, it's a mixture of feelings. It is definitely a mixture of feelings. What's your favourite book that I've actually written myself? Tom Gwynlai's Primary School. Very hard to have a favourite. It's kind of like choosing between children. All of these books reflect who I am as a person. They're a little bit of me, each and every book. And they all reflect different stages of my life. So Daisies and Jelly Beans being my first book. When I look at those poems, I'm glad that I can look at them and I can be proud of them. If I felt like, they're not very good, I wrote that kind of 10 years ago, I'm so much better now, that would be quite troubling for me. I'm actually just happy with how they are in that book, because I recognize it as a certain time in my life. And then Donuts, Thieves and Chimpanzees, Red Sky Night of Poets, all of them just reflect my thinking, my ideas, my creativity at any given time. So I can't really choose between them. I'm just very grateful and blessed that I managed to produce these books, and I'm going to keep writing. I've got a new book coming out in a few weeks, actually, called Bright Lives, which celebrates the lives of Black heritage people who lived in Wales historically. The Gardener, the one that Sir Lewis Hamilton wore, that poem will be in that book. And that's been really lovely, actually, to make a book like that. But I like to, I want to write theatre, I want to write music, lots of different things. So all of them come from the same place. They come from me, and I'm inspired by the world, everything in the world. As I said, poems are around every corner. And I'm inspired, I would be inspired by you as well. If I was in your school, the questions are fantastic. These questions are actually brilliant as well. So that's what it's all about, really. Mixing it up, talking to each other, communicating, Poems just give me a chance to communicate with people. Let's see if any of these questions, maybe I can take one last question. Croxby, I'm not sure we've had any from Croxby. When writing our poetry, sometimes we struggle to think of rhyming words that link to our ideas. How do you do it? Great question. First of all, there is something called a rhyming dictionary. That's very helpful. Sometimes I have the rhyming dictionary with me, and I find words that are going to help me, words that have the same rhyme. The other thing is to just read. Generally, the more you read, the larger your vocabulary, and the more words you have, the more likely you will have words to rhyme with the one that you're looking for. So I wish you all the very best with everything that you do. Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been a pleasure to read poetry with you, and I hope that you feel inspired about reading and about writing. Take good care, everyone.